one of the outcomes that's immediate when I'm dishonest or irresponsible is that I send a message to myself that I am not able to be trusted. So I won't trust myself, and you should not trust me either, because I don't have any problem lying to you. I don't have any problem dropping responsibility, which is also deception. It may not come to you and say, oh, you shouldn't trust me. However, that is an outcome. I'm not worthy of trust.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. It's Thursday, August 31st, 2023. I have some heartbreaking news for you regarding some children that actually were famous on YouTube, and I want to update a story that I had actually spoken about back in 2020, 2019 regarding a family vlogging channel called 8 Passengers. The story was about Ruby Franke and her husband Kevin and their 6 children. Ruby and Kevin became very YouTube famous on the vlogging channel network of family vloggers. Their channel, 8 Passengers, at its peak had 2.3 million subscribers. Their oldest children and even some of their youngest children had breakout channels of their own where they uploaded daily vlogs or weekly vlogs of their life. Ruby was the mother of 6 children. She was a devout Mormon wife, and her husband, Kevin, was an associate professor at Brigham Young University, where he still actually continues to work. Now, after some coverage from several years ago related to their oldest son, Chad, unfortunately, Without a Crystal Ball had received a cease and desist from Kevin and Ruby's attorney asking me no longer to speak about the family over allegations of her treatment of her oldest son, Chad, and some concerning things that she said about her youngest children. Well, today we have some news because I can speak about them because there's now a legal case in the state of Utah, and Ruby is currently sitting in Washington County Detention Center on aggravated CA charges, and she is facing serious time behind bars. And this is actually a very heartbreaking turn of events for what seems to be a channel and a community in YouTube that had been trying to alert so many people about what was happening. So many calls had been made. So many people had been concerned. And in the recent years, Ruby had become involved in a very controversial organization run by a former mental health counselor named Jodi Hildebrandt, who actually has an entire website dedicated to her running a terrible organization. And she and Jodi and Ruby became the Connexions Classroom, and they host videos like I showed you in the very beginning of this video where they teach moms and parents how to be better parents and live in truth. And unfortunately, the things that they recommend actually tear families apart. And according to Ruby's oldest daughter and even some of her siblings, it has torn apart their family. It is even put an estrangement between Kevin and Ruby. And according to a police report, 2 of Ruby's youngest children had been living at Jodi's house and things had gotten terrible. So let's dive into today's topic. Before we do, can you please do me a big favor and give this video a thumbs up? Subscribe to my channel if you've not yet subscribed by clicking on the subscribe button down below. Click on the bell so you can get notified of any time I go live or new content loads. If you have a comment that you'd like to say, make sure to say it and share this video with your friends. I could probably spend 3 hours discussing this situation, and this is really just a very high level of this situation. So if you were a fan of 8 Passengers and you have way more details than me, I apologize. I can't spend 15 hours explaining what's going on. I can only reveal to you what I have for court records and the situation that's currently playing out right now. So Ruby and her family are very well known on YouTube. You can actually Google and put in 8 Passengers and you will see a variety of videos about the concerning things that Ruby has said about her kids over the years. One of the more famous incidents occurred a couple years ago related to her son, Chad. He admitted in a video, which was subsequently taken down, that his mom had taken away his bed for like 7 months and he slept on the floor. He also explained that he had been sent away to a very questionable wilderness camp, hurt his foot, and did not receive proper medical care until he got home. When home, he also revealed that his mom had taken the door off of his bedroom. Other claims that Ruby made had to do with eating and not feeding her children and using food as punishment. So if her kids didn't do certain things that she wanted them to do, she just wouldn't feed them. This was what really spawned off and alerted a lot of people in the community. And back in 2019 and 2020, a lot of people were concerned and reports were made, and apparently DCFS went out and nothing was found. But now here we are today, and things have gotten dramatically worse. Now, only a few months ago, they completely deleted their 8-passenger web channel, which is wild if you think about it. And Ruby has fallen into this organization called Connexions, where she and Jodi Hildebrandt pretend like they can teach everyone about being a good parent. So Jodi was a licensed mental health counselor, and she was part of the LDS church, and she actually used to be referred to on a list from the LDS church to families of how she can help. So Ruby and Jodi got together, and they're now doing this Connexions Classroom, and they upload videos on their YouTube channel. And this has basically put in a huge estrangement in Ruby's family, and it's caused massive issues. Some of her family members allege that she is running a cult, that Jodi is a cult leader, and that Ruby has basically become estranged from almost everyone in her family. And she recently had pulled her kids out of school, and there was just a lot of very concerning things happening. Her oldest daughter, Sherry, actually revealed that she, in a podcast, talked about the heartbreak of what was going on in her family. Her husband is apparently estranged from her at this point in time, and she had been spending most of her time, if not all of her time, at Jodi's house in southern Utah. This is what happened. After years of being concerned about her kids, something happened yesterday that is actually pretty heartbreaking. According to a probable cause affidavit, Ruby's son, RF, climbed out of a window. He was running for help. He knocked on the neighbor's door, and he asked them if they had food and water. When the neighbor saw him, he had duct tape that was like stuck to him, and they noticed that he was really, really thin. And so they contacted police. And when the police arrived, they noticed that he had some injuries that were pretty significant. And as a result, they took him to the hospital, which he was medically diagnosed with malnourishment. They also said that he had injuries were very severe because he had been tied up with a rope. So they say that Ruby had been seen in a YouTube video that was filmed in her basement, and it was posted just 2 days ago, which is the video that I just showed you in the beginning of this video. And it says that this observation adds to Miss Frank, the mother of RF, being present in the home and having knowledge of the ABUSE, the malnourishment, and the neglect. She requested a lawyer and did not speak to us. And with this information, the belief is that Miss Frank had knowledge of this, and it's a second-degree felony. And they asked that she not be allowed any bail due to what happened, that she's a flight risk, and DCFS now has custody of 4 of her kids. And 2 of them have not yet been spoken to. And then the second person is her 10-year-old daughter. And it says that once they transported her son to the hospital, they found her 10-year-old EF, and it took them about 4 hours to get her to talk to them. She was actually with Jodi Hildebrandt at the time. And when they got her to the hospital, she was also medically diagnosed as malnourished. And so she remains there as well. And again, because Ruby was at the house and has been filming, and she knows that her children are there, she was charged on that. And 4 of her kids have been taken in. So they requested that she have no bond and that she be held. A judge wrote this: based on the affirmation of Jessica Bate, who was the officer, The undersigned magistrate finds that probable cause existed for the arrest without a warrant of Ruby Frank. The current offense is a felony, and the court finds substantial evidence to support the charge and finds by clear and convincing evidence that Ruby Frank would constitute a substantial danger to any other individual or to the community, or is likely to flee the jurisdiction of court if she was released on bail. Therefore, they order that she be held without bail. So the judge deemed that she wouldn't be safe to anyone in the community, and they stuck her behind for long term. So she's currently sitting in Washington County. Now, so we hear this is really sad. Clearly, we find out her son had to climb out of a window. He has got all these, it's horrible. But then the probable cause affidavit for Jodi is even more disturbing. They made contact with Jodi, and Jodi was aware of what was going on. And they searched Jodi's home, and they found gauze that was in her bathroom. So she was aware of what was happening with this child. And so they proved that the gauze made that she knew that this child needed help. They didn't take the child anywhere to get help. And she had knowledge of what was happening inside the home. She also requested to speak to a lawyer, but she made a really strange request and said to the police that the two children should never be allowed around any other children. She said this about both kids. And that was part of the reason why they requested that she be held without bond. So these are kids that were under her care, that she was taking care of, that Ruby knew was in her house. Ruby knew that the kids were staying there. And she's telling police, these two children should never be around anyone else, ever again. So she's also charged with the same offenses, and she's also facing the same amount of time. So in the state of Utah, aggravated CA carries a up to 15-year sentence, and it appears as though they are going to be ongoing in their investigation because her daughter Sherry is currently requesting people send any information that they have about the family, about the situation, and she even provided a Google Doc. Now, Santa Clara Public Safety Department released a statement that a search warrant was obtained in connection with this incident. During the search of the home, evidence was located consistent with markings found on the juvenile, and the Department of Child and Family Services was contacted in joint effort with the Springville Police Department. Four minor children were taken into the care of the Department of Child and Family Services. Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Frank were arrested in connection with the incident, and due to the sensitive nature of the case, no additional information will be released at this time. So she has two other children that were not seen at that specific home, and they haven't made contact with those children. The police hadn't at the point of the affidavit for the probable cause. But this is pretty intense because this is a woman that for years people have been saying, like, there's something going on here. We need to help these kids. And it took her child to sneak out and climb out of a window to seek help from a neighbor. It's heartbreaking. And it's sad because 2 days ago, she's uploading videos on her Connections, and they're talking about denigrating of victimhood and how people lie about being victims. It's almost like she's trying to tell on herself about what she's doing to these kids. And while she's filming this, those poor children were there. There's a website called JodiHildebrandt.com, and it literally has all these reviews from people which claim that it's a cult. It says, I wouldn't trust this company. They use brainwashing tactics to manipulate you. They intentionally make you feel bad about yourself and use slander. Please stay away from this company at all costs. Someone else said the information shared and spread by these people is disgusting. They're attempting to brainwash their clients. They pretty much believe that their principles are better than everyone else's own personal morals and values. I gave them the time of day and went in unbiased to gain knowledge and understanding of their practices. And I was interested in their approach, but they couldn't be sharing information that is further from the truth. They themselves are deceitful. And they had a group on Facebook, and it was like Mothers for Truth. And so her core teachings are that you need to achieve true connection with other human beings, and they must not be in distortion. And she claims that distortion is something that is broad, and that it can mean that you have an addiction, you're living in shame or denial, you are not enough, you're codependent, you are living in lust because you're attracted to your spouse and you're controlling and manipulating others. It says, Jodi asserts everyone is in distortion, all experiences in the above, but she can help you to overcome distortion and live in truth. She teaches 3 core principles which must be developed in order to truly connect with anyone and avoid distortion. If you or others do not practice these principles, they are considered in distortion. Boundaries need to be set to distance yourself from these individuals so that you are not drawn into distortion with them. And these are impeccable honesty, rigorous personal responsibility, and humility. Isn't it ironic that someone that says that you need to be impeccably honest is incredibly deceitful? Apparently her teachings have effectively torn families apart. She's torn the Franke family apart. And there was some news that was coming out from the Reddit, from some sort of verified source, that Kevin Franke was arrested, but as far as I can tell in Utah, there's no probable cause affidavit for him. And there's no arrest records for him. So I don't know if he's been arrested, and I don't know that there's anything going on with Kevin at this point. He is apparently living up in Provo, in Springville, and teaches at BYU. So if there's anything going on with Kevin, I'll let you know. But a super heartbreaking development, and just it's another one of those, if you see something, say something. And sometimes if you do see something and you say something, you get hit with cease and desist letters. And I really hope that these kids can heal. There's no word about the status of where the children are. There's no details of where they are. And the Department of Child and Family Services in Washington County will not release that information. You can go ahead and follow Sherry, who is their oldest daughter, and she is estranged from her mother, who is seeking information. And she did update that she was glad that this finally happened. And then her sisters, who are also family vloggers, they had a statement which said, for the last 3 years, we have kept quiet on the subject of our sister Ruby Franke for the sake of her children. Behind the public scene, we have done everything that we could to try and make sure the kids were safe. We wouldn't feel right about moving forward with regular content without addressing the most recent events. Once we do, we will not be commenting on it further. Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jodi was arrested, which needed to happen, and the kids are now safe, which is the number one priority. So her sisters are going to continue to make content, but they needed to make a statement that they're glad that these 2 are arrested. So that's what I have for now, and I will likely do more information about Jodi and this Connexions Classroom and details about that. But if you have information that you'd like to share with me, you can certainly send me some DMs. You can also email me at tips@withoutacrystalball.com. And it's an absolutely heartbreaking story. And I truly hope the children recover and that they're safe and that justice will finally prevail and that she serves a lot of time behind bars for what she's done. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. And the fact that she's profited off of this, we need better protection for children on YouTube. We need federal laws to protect children on YouTube. It's so sad. These children have been exploited to a level where this is the end result. So tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.